Hey, what up? It's New Age Ja and welcome. So it's Aries season. The sun is in Aries, Mercury is in Aries, the moon is in Pisces, which is the last sign of the zodiac, which will birth itself anew come Friday with an Aries new moon. What a breath of fresh air. The sun entered Aries, which is our vitality, our ego, our conscious self. And now with Mercury joining, our intellectual mind has joined. Our ability to rationalize and collect details and communicate has now been ignited by conscious awareness. Aries is a cardinal action-oriented sign ruled by Mars. And Mars is action-oriented. It is the warrior. It is the fighter. It is the passion. It is the drive. It is the masculine. It is the penetrative energy. It's sharp, rules metals, weapons, etc. Tools, nonetheless, sharp tools. And having Mercury conjunct the sun, which is our logical, rational mind, can make us very impulsive and reactive in our thinking. It's like our thinking process gets short-circuited and burnt out by the sun and ran over, right? Because Aries doesn't have any brakes. It's cardinal, it's forward moving, it's taking charge, it's going to ram the ram. Now the moon is completing its lunar cycle, which still hasn't caught up with the Aries energy and the Mars. The Mars energy, but the Aries and the Mercury energy. It's still in Pisces, resting. And so we're these next couple of days, but I would really say for the rest of the week, we could be feeling a bit sluggish, right? Like we're awakening from the slumber on a soul level, on an intrinsic level, in regards to our eating habits, our feeling body, and how we nurture and interact with the world around us from an intrinsic, psychological, subconscious, sensitive, more intrinsic way of being. So the conscious mind, or the conscious ego, the sun, has been aware of a new beginning. Now the mind is beginning to pick up speed coming out of Pisces. And now the emotional self, the internal self, right? In Vedic astrology, they give the moon precedence in the ways that we give maybe the rising sign or the sun precedence. So in Vedic astrology, the moon is everything, which says a lot. Moon, rising, sun, they all have a lot to do with one another, or they have the same amount of strength and potence, which we will be talking about. So as the moon wraps up its emotional cycle and allows itself for a rebirth, we now have a more cohesive sense of self where our energy bodies are all up to par, basically, essentially. Having Mars and Venus in Aquarius is really nice. It's social, it's fixed air, and air fuels fire. There's a nice energy flow between these energies. It could make too much of a fire, it's like a forest fire, any kind of fire. You don't want to feed it more oxygen. Air, you want to be able to control it and temper it. So with all of this Mars energy and all of this fixed Aquarius energy, our fires can be getting a little bit out of control. And then when we put our emotional nature here, we're going to feel good. We're going to feel unstoppable, and we're going to really feel alive. So if you haven't felt completely alive until now, or until maybe next week, this is why. It's okay. It's completely normal. You will birth yourself fully and be on the same page with yourself come, let's say, Sunday or even Friday. You might feel the renewal energy on Friday. Now with the new moon, the moon is dark. It's it's being blocked out by the sun. It's being swallowed up by the sun. And so it's a new emotional state that isn't necessarily receiving the rays of the sun. It's being burnt out by the sun, which is why I'm saying that it might take another 2 to 3 more days up until Monday to really begin to pick up speed as the moon progresses into its crescent phase and so on. So Aries rules the first house of the zodiac. And the first house is called the ascendant or the rising sign. But really, the ascendant or the rising sign is called your horoscope. Isn't that funny how we all read our horoscope under our sun sign? The rising sign is the horoscope. Aura, but aura also being life force, life. Okay? This is why the ascendant is so important, and a lot of the times takes more precedence over your sun sign. The sun is ruled by Leo, but finds exaltation in Aries, which means the sun is at home in Leo, feels very comfortable, can express itself, feel at home, sit on its throne. Now in Aries is exalted, which means it's basically put on speed and rises up. Now the thing with an exaltation is that with anything that is exalted must come a fall, okay? So unlike being at home in Leo, the sun, it's comfortable and it's very hard to take the Leo sign off of its throne. But when it's in Aries, it could potentially be burnt out as it is cardinal moving and wants to move forward, versus Leo is a fixed sign, a fixed fire sign. So the sun can sit fixed, right? And just like how the sun sits fixed in the center of the solar system, that's how it likes to be in Leo. So the sun, when it's in Aries, gets a burst of energy, like it's like solar flares. It starts sparking, but eventually it can kind of get exhausted and wear itself out if nothing is potentially grounding it correctly. So Mars rules that first house, but the sun is exalted there. Okay. The sun is said to mark your vitality, it's your egoic force, right? Similar to the horoscope or your life force house, the entryway and the doorway onto your life path. If you look at your natal chart, it's a life path. It's like, Dorothy, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. And on the yellow brick road, you are on a mission to find your sun, or to exalt your sun, or to embody your sun. So when you are born into your first house. Now you are tainted, or you are now on the path of that first house energy. And the ruler of that first house will show you a lot about your path, okay? Now, the sun is your core, egoic structure. Aries is birth of ego. The sun sustains that ego in a way, right? There's like this switcheroo happening with Aries and Leo in regards to vitality and strength and dominance. Now, the sun, when we're born and we come into our rising sign, when we rise into our being, when our soul rises into this earth plane, we are that. You are that. You embody that. You are on the life path of that. So whatever is on your rising sign, you embody this energy and you represent this energy, and you are on a life path represented and beginning with this energy of your first house, of your rising sign. Now, your sun sign is your ego vitality. It's something that needs to be nurtured and harvested, and something that we grow into to eventually stabilize it, right? Our solar energy is a part of our being, and it is our fuel, but it is something that we are learning to become. Okay, so let's say a Leo rising compared to a Leo sun. Well, sometimes a Leo sun thinks it's more of a Leo than a Leo rising because it's ruled by the sun. But the Leo sun must be able to recognize that the Leo rising is ruled completely by the sun. You see what I'm saying? A Leo rising can a Leo sun can be birthed into this reality, but come in on a life path of a completely different structure, of a completely different animal, of a completely different animus. Your horoscope, your life force is encapsulated into another being, versus a Leo rising is birthed into the sun, embodying the sun, and is following the life path of the sun. Now, a Leo rising, having the sun as the chart ruler, follows the solar energy. And wherever the solar energy is the taintedness or the filter of which that solar energy is being brought out of. So the sign and the house, okay? So not only is your rising sign your horoscope, your life energy, your life scope, your life map, but so is that planetary energy. So let's say you were born with a Scorpio rising, okay? So as a Scorpio rising, you are Mars ruled or a Plutonian ruled, Pluto. I will look to see as to which one of those planets are stronger. Your Mars, is it in a stronger sign and placement? Is your Pluto in a stronger sign or placement? Traditionally, Mars would be your ruler. But let's say you're a Leo sun. So now we have the four corners, north, east, south, west, right? Or your rising, your shadow side, or the opposition, or the other. Then you have your deepest psychological part, or your home and your mother or your father. And then you have the 10th house, which is your career, public persona, what you are reaching to be, what you are working hard to become, your career status, your goals, and how you'd like to be known in this life. The 10th house is like your name. It's like the 10th house is what you're known to be, right? So a Scorpio rising is going to come into this life with maybe an agenda, so to speak, but a very investigative, private, regenerative, secretive way of going about life. It has a sexual prowess, a sexual power. It has a level of dominance and subconscious psychological fixed way of behaving and going about in this world. But a Scorpio rising, because it doesn't like to be seen, one will come out to be or appear to be more like a Leo sun, okay? Because it's the public persona. Now, if let's say your sun is on an angular corner, whether it's the first, second, or third, or fourth, this sun has prominence because it's on one of your angles, and your angles say a lot about who you are. It's your four directional ways. It's your guiding compass, right? So planets and the signs on your four corners, but most importantly, the planets on your angles is going to really say a lot about the strength of who you are and what is dominating you in your chart. But that kind of, strays away and builds off of what the original sun and rising is. So a Scorpio rising with a Leo sun in the 10th house is going to be a very strong and prominent Leo according to its public persona. But the 10th house is a house that is matured over time. It's ruled by Capricorn and Saturn. So it takes a long time to build up to this status of a Leo boss that is able to be recognized, respected, and seen, and that is able to sit on the throne for lifetimes to come, right? Or for years to come. This is something that we're building up to. Now, this is where kind of like the energies can kind of get confused, versus a Leo rising is ruled by the sun, exudes the sun, looks like the sun, and is on the life path of the sun, is on the life path of a Leo. You know, versus a Scorpio or a Sagittarius rising with a Leo sun, or an Aquarius with a Leo sun. They're going to be on a different life path, but the Leo sun is going to do its best to cultivate the best qualities of what it is in order to stabilize its egoic vitality, in order to gain respect, in order to be a monarch of respect and loving, in order to dominate its territory. This is something that is learned. This is something that is embodied over time, but necessarily does not rule your life path, although it can show a lot to do with what you're here to become and what you're here to do. Your sign can show a lot to do about your business, owning a business, what you're here to do to work, how you have fun, how you express yourself. The sun is going to show you your expressive energy. And just like any other being, it's not always easy to tap into your true and vital expression. And this has a lot to do with how your sun is placed in your horoscope, and how it's being treated, and what aspects is being made, and what kind of environment that is in, and how it's being nurtured, okay? A Leo moon intrinsically feels and is a Leo on a soul level, but depending on how it was nurtured determines whether that Leo is able to feel confident in shining or not. Has a lot to do with the maternal figure. Was the maternal figure able to nurture this Leo moon, right? Or was this Leo moon protected on an emotional level where it feels confident enough to actually express itself and dramatize its emotions? Where the Leo sun wants to be seen, it wants to be heard, it wants to be noticed. And so you will see the Leo sun doing things in order to be seen, in order to be noticed, okay? In order to claim its power and its position, versus a Leo rising naturally is put on a path of being noticed and being seen, and naturally shines. Now that solar placement is going to determine how that sun behaves and what it wants to do with its shine. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're basically, as we're in Aries season, look at what's on your rising sign. And how are you embodying this energy? And what story is your rising sign telling you? And where can you express your vitality, and in what manner, that solar energy? But who and what is affecting not only your solar energy, but your life path? Look at any planets in your first house. Look at your ascendant ruler and see what it's saying to you, as this is your life energy along with the sun. So the sun and the ascendant and the moon all have equal responsibilities of making you who you are. The sun does not hold more precedence over your rising sign, but the rising sign can definitely hold a little bit more precedence over your sun sign, until you learn to completely embody a sun sign along your life path that is dictated by the rising. So that's what I have for you right here, right now. Of course, there's so much more that goes into this, but here's some food for thought. Thank you.